Hi, I'm Jonathan Weinberg, and this is Drawing with Fountain Pens. Today I'm going to talk about a pen that is not that new. It is the Asvine P30, which is the P stands for Piston filler. But why I ended up getting this pen is because it now is available with a stub nib. And in general, Chinese pens, until recently, you really only could get them in fine, maybe medium. Now more and more they seem to be launching other sizes. The nibs are getting much better, and I wanted to see how this would work. It was very affordable. It was under $30 on Amazon. I don't know if that'll stay like that given all the talk of tariffs. It's quite a substantial pen, and I'm just going to draw with it a little bit and write with it and see how it works and let you know. As always, if you find this useful, subscribe and give it a like. So, not surprisingly, the pen came in a box, Asvine box, and they do nice packaging. It's very similar to boxes that the Moon Man or the Mahjong pens come in. They do a really good job of keeping the pen secure when they are shipped. I got it on Amazon, but actually it took quite a while, and it came in a kind of package that definitely made it seem like it had come from China, not from someplace in the United States. And this is how it came in the box. It's quite a heavy pen. When I first saw this pen online, I don't know, months ago, I was resistant to it because they said that this style is kind of retro. And in photographs, and you see this kind of bronzing and the way it's done, it does seem like it's trying to look a bit like something from the turn of the century, the last century. I think of like a Tiffany lamp, like the base of a Tiffany lamp. But in person, what you don't see is that the this brass, if that's what the material is coated with a translucent kind of lacquer, and that gives it really actually quite a modern look to it and a modern feel to it. So I don't feel so much that it's trying to be nostalgic, and even the logo and the typeface they're using, since it's non-serif, is very modern looking. So I don't feel like it has the kind of old-fashioned look, and I kind of like the way it looks. I'm very pleased with the way it looks, and it holds a lot of ink. You can see the ink sloshing around because it's a piston filler. So I really actually like the way it looks. It has a kind of shiny surface, and I like the way it feels. It is quite heavy because the cap is very heavy. But once you take the cap off, it's not a heavy pen at all. It feels really nice in the hand. There is one thing that I don't like about it, which I feel is a problem with a lot of piston-filled pens. It will post, pretty securely, but the problem is once it's posted, if you twist it off badly, it will turn the piston. And I talk a lot about this. I feel that pens that have piston fillers should be designed in such a way that when you put the cap on them and post them, it doesn't turn the knob, because you can really easily get ink all over yourself if you forget, if you turn it for some reason, if it gets stuck. Pens like Pelicon's M800 can be posted and are pistons, and they don't do that. So I'm not quite sure what's involved with the design that designers of pens don't do that more. For comparison's sake, unposted, you always do this. You want to see how it compares to the size of a Pilot Metropolitan Mont Blanc 149, which it's very similar in size. And of course, it's a cigar-shaped pen. You'll note, for example, that the Mont Blanc, the way it posts, that it posts beyond the piston turn, so when it doesn't suffer from that problem. So again, that's something that always I look at, and it bothers me if a pen maker doesn't do that right. Now, in terms of drawing, this nib is really nice. It's very wet. And the flow is very, but you know, for a stub nib, it's remarkably smooth and fluid. I'm using, there's always a sweet spot to a stub nib. But when you're in the right mode, it actually works quite well. I'm drawing one of the few dahlia flowers that I was able to grow when I first moved into my house in New Haven. The trees weren't so big and we had a lot of sun, but now there's enough sun really to grow dahlias well. Dahlias like a lot of sun, but I always get a few. They're one of my favorite flowers. So you can see, I hope you can see, that you can get at least two kinds of line variations depending on how you hold the pen with this. With this nib. I don't know, for some reason I decided to draw on my sketchbook instead of a separate paper. I love keeping sketchbooks. I was just talking to a young artist, and I have sketchbooks that go all the way back to when I was a teenager, and that's really when I first used a fountain pen. And unfortunately, I didn't keep a journal through most of my life till fairly recently, but I've always kept a sketchbook, and it's really nice to be able to go back and look at the past. Plus, of course, it's a very creative outlet. So here, I hope you can see that here's a thick line, but if I do the water, I can do that in a thinner line. So here's that thin line, thicker line. This is Waterman Tender Purple, which I think is very nice purple. Waterman inks are very affordable and have been around forever. And I think they clean out of your pen more easily than a lot of other inks. But there's nothing fancy about them. Anyway, this is really a nice pen, particularly for under $30. I think a very good sketching pen. Holds a lot of ink. I think the Piston method for getting ink into a pen is a pretty good one. I think it's actually easier to use than a vacuum filler. People who collect pens, I think, are kind of obsessed with vacuum fillers, and it is kind of cool to use them, but they're kind of a pain to operate, I think. I think this is just more easy and intuitive. Pen's nice looking. It's a good deal. So how does it write? It's the Asvine P30. It's the Stub Nib. And this is Waterman Tender Purple. And this is Rhodia paper. It is very wet, very smooth for a stub. And I think it gives my handwriting a little bit of flair. I have terrible handwriting, but I think my handwriting looks better with this pen. It's for a stub, it has a pretty wide sweet spot. You know, stubs always tend to be scratchy, but this is remarkably smooth. So if it goes this way, it's something like a medium. If I go this way, it becomes very like a double broad. And so it gives your writing a little bit of a nice quality. And it's, you know, to use the Per Gustafsson test, it can write really fast. Okay, let's try it out with a quote. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Creeps and this petty pace from day to day to the last what is it? Syllable of recorded time. So it's really nice. Very highly recommended. Although it skipped right there, but I think that was my fault. Oh, there we go, it's skipping. So that's the thing. Stubs do have a tendency to skip a little bit. They have a sweet spot, but this is pretty good.